Right, this is episode 4 of the Newark SKC Podcast. I am Chris Walsh.
I'm Andy Patton.
And today we have Sensei Mick Lowe, who's a 4th Dan black belt and a C-level instructor, referee and examiner. How are you doing, boss?
Very well, thank you.
Good man, good man. So, take us back. Take us back. When did you first get interested? What sparked the interest with karate for your good self?
I think it was to do with the films, Bruce Lee and Kung Fu on the TV.
Yeah.
Really interesting and all that sort of thing. And I was working at Balderton Hospital, and there was a guy, and I lived in the male nurses' home.
Right.
And which was a great place to live. And directly opposite me was a guy called Tony Musson. And he was a brown belt in karate. And he used to go out on the grass in front of the male res, as it was called. And he would do all this, stuff. And people used to look at him and think, wow, that's good. And I ended up working as a nurse on a medium secure unit. And these were guys who were big, and I thought, I think I'm going to have to do something, boxing or something. And Tony said, come to karate. So I went to karate at the Grove.
Yeah, so in Balderton, pretty much in Balderton, yeah.
I would reckon about 77, 78 maybe. And that's how it started. I went in and I thought, this is good.
So first night through the door, you've got Tony with you.
Yeah.
Who's the chief instructor?
Sensei Alan Bainbridge.
So Sensei Alan Bainbridge. And was the hall pretty full back then?
Yeah, it was full.
Yeah.
It was full. And across the board, there were kids, teenagers, adults, old people.
Yeah.
Of which I am one now. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. You know, when you walk in and everybody's dressed in these white pajamas, and they've all got different belts, and you just think, "Whoa, that is interesting." Yeah, it was really good fun.
And so, obviously, that first night you started, did they take it easy on you that night?
No. Just listening to the other podcasts back in the day, it was brutal. You know, like.
Sink or swim?
It was definitely swim fast. Yeah, it was pretty hard. Yeah, pretty hard.
Yeah. Was maybe like an old school lineup or something like that?
Yeah, it was. You could see all these guys, and we never once complained. I've never seen anybody go, "Ouch, that hurt. Don't hit me."
Yeah.
It was, go on and hit me, and is that all you can do? You know? And then they'd hit you again, and you'd say, come on, let's have another. Nobody ever complained. And if you didn't come home with a bruise or a fat lip or like that one was from one of my first days.
A busted finger.
Yeah, if you didn't come away with something, you had a poor day, really.
And if you got sort of from back then, of sort of say like when you first started, is there any sort of like memorable people you could remember? That you've that
so
training?
When I went, there was people like your dad. Yeah. There was Willie Patton. There was Chris Mansfield.
Now, Chris Mansfield, I don't know. I think I met him once or many years ago, and probably a few years ago, like in the Builders Merchants, I think, in town, and Sensei Wayne said, "Oh, that's Chris Mansfield." But everyone speaks of Chris in real high regard. I remember, like, again, Sensei Willie, he speaks really high. My father, Phil, everyone really speaks, and it'd be, how good was he?
Chris used to stand out in my mind. I remember your dad training with him. I remember Willie, Fraser Nicholson. I remember all that.
That's another name again. I remember people mentioning.
I used to hang around with Fraser quite a lot, but Chris was hard, unforgiving, in my opinion, and he seemed to disappear after a while. I don't know what happened to him, but
what grade would have he been then, like when you sort of started?
Well, your dad, I think, was a brown belt when I started. Chris was a brown belt. Willie, I'm not sure Willie was a brown belt. I think Willie was probably green or purple when I started. Fraser was, I think he was a green belt. And then I started, and Phil started roughly the same time, because me and Phil graded together the first time, and we both double graded.
Right.
I remember that. It was pretty cool.
Oh, it's nice, like
it was awesome.
Be asked to double grade or anything. Yeah. It obviously don't tend to see it so much these days.
Not really.
As being a grading examiner yourself, would you say, like in the last couple of years, would you ever seen many?
I've probably seen 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It's usually somebody who's done it before, had a break, come back, and they do their first grading, and you can tell they've done it before.
Yeah.
And it was probably 3 or 4 years ago. So they can do the first and second grade catas pretty easy.
But so do you sort of through the grading then, would you look at them either in the training, like during the training prior, prior to the grading, would you look at them and think, oh yeah, they seem to know what they're doing? Or is it maybe during the grading itself and then ask them, do you know your next kata?
I think, well, you've seen, you know when somebody comes in and they bow, you think, oh, that's odd, because normal beginners don't do that. They just walk in and run around. And then when they start training, you can see that they go into a stance and they look as though their body knows. It's like muscle memory. You can tell they've done something. It might be Wateroo, not Shotokan, or it might be something else, but you can tell straight away. And so when you look at them at the grading and you can see that they can do their first belt, and then you can see that they've got the knowledge and they understand what they're doing, and then they go for a second grading. But like I say, not very often.
So obviously, taking it back a little bit of when you first started and training with Chris and Steve and Will, out of all those while you were training with them, you said Chris. You noticed obviously Chris had dropped off. Was there any other? Did Fraser Nicholson drop off?
Fraser, then I think he became a miner,
right?
As in a coal miner.
Yeah.
And he sort of was working shifts. And the same with me. I worked at Balderton Hospital and worked shifts. So 1 week you could come, and then the next week you can't come.
So you double the effort.
And then you'd come and you'd think, well, they've learnt to do this. I've missed that. So you had to work hard to try and catch up. Yeah. And there was that motivation.
So obviously the club back then would have been with the KUGB.
Yeah,
it
was with the KUGB. But again, just to echo what everybody else said, nobody seemed to mention.
Yeah, what association?
Yeah. It was just you did karate, and it was called Shotokan.
Yeah.
And at the same time as we trained at the Grove, there was another karate club that trained on the same night.
All right.
And that was Shukakai.
All right. Yeah.
And again, pretty similar to Shotokan, but their stances were higher.
Yeah, a little bit higher, and a little bit shorter.
A bit shorter in their hand position. But again, similar katas.
Yeah, I know, obviously, Dad and Phil, they were quite good friends with one of the guys there, Brian.
Brian. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I bumped into Brian's son, Nathan, who's trained with us like in the past. And yeah, they always used to speak highly of Brian.
Yeah, it was Brian. Yeah, and occasionally we sort of cross-trained.
Yeah.
But Not
not very often.
Not very often, but occasionally.
So who would have been your first grading examiner then?
My first grading exam was Kawazoe.
Yeah, so that'd be you and Phil then.
Me and Phil.
You and Phil double grading with Kawazoe. And how did you find Kawazoe?
Well, at the time, he was like the next thing to Bruce Lee because, he was Japanese.
Yeah.
And in fact, the first time he came to the club, he walked in and he was warming up and he stood in the double doorways of the gym and stuck his foot in the corner of the door.
Oh, like of the door, of the arch. Like by the arch of the doorway.
He stood at one side and stuck his foot.
Yeah.
And I remember looking and thinking, what? How does this happen? That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I think Phil and my dad have all said that how supple. Yeah.
And he would just into the box splits.
and again, back then, if everyone's starting crying, and you're not seeing people like that, it must have been, very impressive.
Oh, just the way. Well, for me, the way Japanese people move and apply their bodies to whether it's karate or judo, there's just something different.
Yeah.
Being a nurse, they're built the same, but they're not.
Yeah. Well, you're seeing the flex in the ankles as well. I know Sensei Phil touched on this, but it was, again, the flex in the ankles and just certain little things.
The way they move, I just love the way they move.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that, especially now.
But so you obviously first grading with Sensei Kawazoe, and you obviously must have trained with Sensei Inoida as well, back then.
I've trained with Sensei Inoida, Tomita, Kase, Kawazoe,
Tanaka,
Asaka, Imura, I think
those instructors, so if you said there was really one thing that stuck out, say obviously because Kawazoe was your first first grading examiner, so what stuck out in your mind about him?
I think his technical ability was immense, and the way he demonstrated what he wanted. His English was okay, but he could actually tell you what he wanted you to do just by demonstration.
Yeah. Everyone understood.
Yeah, everybody just understood what he wanted you to do.
And Sensei Inoida, what could you? Because obviously, I bet you went down to Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace
courses.
I went to the courses. Went to the championships.
Yeah.
And
what stuck out in your mind with Sensei Inoida, if you could say as well?
Again,
I always think back at a presence.
That was it. I was going to say. They called him the Tiger. And when he walked into the room, even if you weren't looking, you knew somebody important had walked into the room. There was just...
It'd almost get quiet.
Yeah, people just sort of went... It was impressive, actually. Yeah.
Like a good atmosphere he created.
Yeah. I mean, I think...
I can think back in that. I think those training sessions, even as a young lad, if in the age I would have been not as probably invested into karate as I am now, but you can even think back to think, God, everyone was giving it 110%.
Yeah, and sweat and the walls were sticky and horrible.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
Yeah. Definitely sadly missed. Everyone knows Peter is very sadly missed. So training back in the day, then compared to like nowadays, if you had to say what and again, don't hold back.
Back in the day was hard, and we used to do a lot of conditioning. So we used to do not 5 or 10 or 20 kicks. We would do 50, 100, 200 just to warm up.
Yeah.
And then you would do whatever. And conditioning, we used to do guiron-brais against each other's arms. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it just kept going and going. And at the end of the night, your arms would be
hanging off,
sore, bruised, lumps.
Yeah.
And you used to then go to the pub because to the Grove, there used to be a side pub.
Yes, there used to be a side bar.
Yeah.
I remember,
And we used to go in there and probably have a few
couple of
sherbet lemons just to deaden the pain and to get the fluid back in. Cause
well, you need the beer, don't you?
do.
Got to hydrate.
Yeah, and it was better than
Drink water, kids, please.
Yeah. It was hard. And we used to do the things like running on each other.
I did. Like, I saw a picture of that, and I can even remember being at Newark. I don't know if Sensei Alan would have gone because he must have left by then. I think so. It must have been Sensei Darren and Sensei Wayne. But I remember doing that where you used to all stand. You'd have like one person laid on the floor with the head one side, the other person with the head the other side, laying there, and then it'd be like a tandem race. Someone would have to get up and run all the way down everybody's midriffs.
Yeah.
And then lay down at the end.
Yeah.
And then once they'd gone, the shout went, yep. And then the next one
we
was
used to
gone.
do that was quite. And then the other one was we used to stand in front of each other, doing sort of chokazuki, and we used to punch each other as hard as you could.
Yeah.
And again, that would be for not just for 10 punches. It would be for 10 minutes.
Other people listening that probably haven't seen that, it probably sounds like maybe, I don't know, a bit sadistic
sounds
or something.
brutal.
It sounds brutal or a bit sadistic. But as a young lad that's come up right through the sort of the back end of that sort of training, like I don't look bad. It did it. Like it toughened you up.
It toughened you.
But
you up.
in a
I've never met
in a good way though.
Yeah. I've never met anybody who was sadistic and really, really wanted to hurt you. They wanted to demonstrate that they were strong, but nobody ever punched me to the point where you felt they did that because they didn't like you. They punched you because they liked you. And they just wanted to. Again, it's this thing of like
ultimately you're trying to better yourself.
Yeah.
But behind that is always you're trying to make your fellow club mates better as well.
I mean, it's a bit like, probably Phil would say, me and Phil used to train pretty hard on each other. And we used to do a fair bit of kumite together.
Yeah.
I always wished I was as good as Phil. There was something special about him. But it was hard. And
I was thinking that it's nice that I think every club must have those people that walk through the doors that gets either one. They might get all aspects of karate, or they might just be really good at kata. They might be really good at kumite. But if you've got someone there that like gets it, and you can have good kumite, it's only going to make you better.
It makes everybody else at that little bit better. Yeah, and
you have to put yourself in front of those people as well.
Oh, you do. If you can't hide behind somebody, you have to be, and I think that's what I enjoyed about it was when we used to do lineups, and there would be maybe your dad and Willie at the front, and there would be 10 or maybe 15 in a line, and everyone would fight that person.
Yeah.
And then they'd go to the back and we'd go to the front.
Yeah. And we occasionally do it now, but I mean, like, back then you might have a lineup and it'd be like 50, 60 people in the line. By the time you get through everybody.
And that was just how it was. And we used to do things like lots and lots of push-ups on our knuckles, but now we found that it's dangerous
for the
youngsters because of the growing, and you can see certain things like rolling. We used to do all this head rolling, and now we know that is actually
not the best.
It's counterproductive and it can be dangerous. But so there's those aspects. But Yeah, we used to train
So
hard.
obviously, training hard opposed to like back in the day to now. Do you just think it's like? Do you think it's the I don't know, like health and
Health and
safety?
safety
Health and safety
gone
has
mad.
probably gone a little bit mad.
You don't want anybody to be injured.
No.
But I
don't
think
remember many people. I mean, people would have injuries like pulled muscles and things like
sprains,
that.
something, yeah.
But I
very
don't like injuries in the dojo where it was either. There's never really anything that I'd ever seen that was either malicious or anything like that.
No,
It
I mean,
was
pushing each other, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was trying to get the best out of each other.
and in the past, well, I've been knocked out. I don't know how many times, quite a few times, but because I had a brain scan the other week, and there is no brain damage, so I'm quite pleased about it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's. I prefer the old.
I think
type
there
training.
you put yourself in those positions there. I mean, I remember that's probably when I first come back to karate. You know, it was someone had one of the young children. I think they'd come to karate, and as yourself when you're teaching, you're giving the instruction. Is everyone paying attention? This is what we're doing. But simple step. Block and counter. And someone's not paid attention, they've not listened, and they've not blocked it, and they've got punched in the tummy, and then you've got a parent saying, "My child's upset because she got punched in the stomach," and you're like, "We're doing karate." And I have asked, there's only so many times I can say, "Have they paid attention?"
And I can't in the past, in the old days, I can't think of any parent who ever said, my son or daughter is upset. It's all changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but if you could, you'd bring it back.
Oh, I think.
Would you?
Yeah. I think I like the old style of training.
I definitely like both. I think there's a time, and again, there's a time and a place for the harder training.
But the good, the newer training is where we concentrate on technique and getting it right and producing more power, effective. Is good, and I think that's the bit up that.
That's the one thing. I mean, I remember unless you had the grading. Again, maybe not. I mean, like you'd have the grading. For me, it stuck out as I think it was essentially Bob Rhodes. You'd read really expressing the detail.
Yeah.
Again, this is just what I remember from being a young kid at the time. But is that the detail until you get older, and obviously you're training with yourself, Sensei Ota, Sensei Wayne, that they're really going into like the explicit detail of the moves. I don't remember it being the classes ever being so detailed.
That is true. And I think it's like in the day, we always used to say, "Oh, keep your leg straight, your back leg, keep it straight," and we didn't understand what they were actually saying because that's what we used to drill into people. Your back leg when you're doing Zenkutsu Dachi should be straight, and we didn't understand that it was straight, but that it was slightly bent, so that you could use your hip. And we didn't understand how that was doing. So it wasn't that technical in detail, but over the years, you now get that more detailed biomechanical breakdown so that you know what you're actually doing. Yeah. That's the good thing about today's stuff.
So back then, back in the day, in Newark, obviously, was Sensei Alan still there? Did you? I remember some of the others. They said that they went to do gradings in, I think it was possibly Derby or somewhere like that. Did you ever?
No, I never. When I first started, there was no. You only get 4 lessons and you've got to get a license. It never happened like that. I didn't get my license until about 78, I think, or maybe 77, something like that. And then I got a license, and we did all our grading. Well, I did all my gradings at Newark.
Yeah.
And Sensei Kawazawa did all my gradings up to second Q, I think.
Who did the grading after second Q?
Well, I moved later
Okay.
on. I moved, and my first Q was Sensei Derek Langham.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I met Sensei Carol when she was here. Was
Yeah.
saying that like he was over at Bingham.
Well, he used to come over to Spalding.
Right.
Eventually, I moved
Oh,
back,
okay.
not to Nottinghamshire, but to Lincolnshire,
Yeah.
and then went back to the KUGB.
So I remember reading some of the bits that you'd sent over to me, and you said that I think this chap's name was mentioned by Sensei Phil and Sensei Steve, Graham Ravey, that he was friends with Sensei Alan.
It was, yeah, Goju-Ryu, man.
Goju-Ryu.
Yeah, and he
Something
lived
I
in.
always wanted to try Goju-Ryu as well.
Tell you, it's hard as nails. Hard, not completely different, but it's just stamina and conditioning. And we used to go to Chesterfield. We used to get in a minibus, and I'm sure your dad's been.
Oh,
I remember your dad, Willie, Chris Mansfield went, I went, Phil went. Well, more than once, but yeah, we all went as a group.
They all said the training was just.
Oh, and they did things like they had axe handles or poles stuck in flower pots, and then you looked at it, and then it was concrete. It was like a concrete weight, and you used to punch and turn these handles and it used to
just conditioning your forearms.
it. And there were bigger ones and smaller ones, and some of the Goju-Ryu guys, they were big flower pots of concrete, and they'd turn these handles over, and then there was this. I remember we all stood in a line, and there was I think it was called a Kondo Kenny or something like that, and to me it looked like a big safety pin. It was 6 foot tall. It was about 2 foot wide, and it was made of tubular steel, and you passed it down the line.
As in what you had to
Just
keep your arms out. Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, would you if you let go of it? It would clatter on your toes, and other people would be jumping out. It was heavy, but that's what they used to do. And the other one that they did was that I remember was we sat on the floor, and they got broom handles, and they run the broom handles up and down your shin.
Oh.
Ooh. Yeah, it was a bit ooh.
Visualising in my head.
just rolling it up and down your shins, but they were using it for conditioning. We didn't do that in.
I think a bit like you said when you guys used to practice like Gidambarai as well on each other. I mean, I think I've seen like the Goju-Ryus, and they're like, I don't know, like blocking across and absolutely conditioning the forearms.
It was, and it was good, but we didn't do that really in Shotokan, but in Goju-Ryu, that was really interesting stuff.
I was going to say, it must have been like quite eye-opening when you went over
and
there.
they had Makawara boards and stuff. Yeah, it was good. Just different training, sweat, tears, skin, it was just, it was good.
Bruises aplenty.
Yeah, and I remember I'm sure Phil was there, your dad. We went to a competition. I think it was an open. I can't remember where it was. Anyway, we went, and Graham did Hangetsu. And people were looking at him and thinking, who's this guy? And he walked on, and he took his gi top off. And we all sort of went, what's going on? And he ceremonially folded his gi, bowed to his gi, and got up and did Hangetsu. And then somebody smashed big lumps of wood across him.
To show the tension. Yeah.
That was I'd never seen this. It was amazing. This boom, and just bits of wood flying over. And everybody was looking and sort of going, oh my God, what is this?
I'd heard of it. It probably might have been the same story like you're saying about going river. I remember as a young lad someone saying, like Hangetsu. Because it wasn't a cat you saw
a lot
of.
No.
And I can't remember if it was like either Graham Ravy or it might have been someone. It was Terry O'Neill or Cyril Cummins or someone again did the same thing. Folded the gi top up, went out, performed the kata, and like and to show again without the gi top to show
and the muscle. The definition of the muscle was absolutely. And by the time he'd finished, he was dripping with sweat. You could just tell he'd put 110% in. And he got the gold medal or whatever it was that was going. I think I did Ian Showdown or something bizarre, and he'd just done. It was out of this world. It was amazing. Was
that like that would have been like an open?
It was an open.
Yeah.
I can't even. Probably Peterborough or Birmingham or some one of these big opens that we went to. He just, he just creamed it all the way through. Brilliant.
Yeah, we definitely need to go and check out some Goju-Ryu at some point.
It was good.
So, how did you? So you probably back in the day. Then, how did you meet? Obviously, Sensei Wayne. Back then when Sensei Allen left to go and live in Australia. Newark was then run by Sensei Darren Taggart and Sensei Wayne.
Well, yeah, but what happened was I ended up with my second cue, and I used to teach on a Sunday. I think probably your dad was doing Grantham or
I think by then,
Southwell or whatever. Yeah. People, how people move in and out and do things. And I was teaching with Fraser, and I think Phil was still there, or maybe he was in and out and going with your dad or whatever it was. And I taught Sensei Wayne, his first lesson.
Right.
Wow.
And how old would he have been then?
8.
Yeah.
I would think, or something like that, 10 maybe. But I think he was around 8. And I also taught Tracy Taggart.
So Tracy Taggart,
and Trudy.
Oh, I can never remember Trudy's last name, no. Phil would remember.
Yeah, Trudy. And Trudy broke my thumb on the first lesson.
On her first lesson?
On her first lesson. I don't know why, but we were doing Shuto.
Yeah.
And I was saying to the group, Sensei Allen was teaching the high grades, and I'd got this younger group. And we were doing Shuto, and I kept saying, when you do Shuto, you got to keep your thumb in. Because if you leave it like that, somebody will grab it and pull it back, and you'll end up with a broken thumb. So always like that. Trudy, always like that, not like that. And she went, why this?
Oh, no.
And broke my thumb. So I had to go to Newark Hospital to get this thumb sorted out. It's never been the same.
It's a permanent memory.
Been the same.
She did a good job on it then.
Oh, she did a good job, yeah. So
I haven't seen Trudy for years, but what I remember of Trudy was that she was really good.
Oh yeah, Trudy, Tracy, Darren, and Wayne, because they all got their black belts, and then I moved with jobs and things like that. Yeah.
But so again, was Darren sort of up and coming then as well?
Yeah,
then?
there was Wayne and Darren, like I say, Trudy, Tracy, and again some of the others, but I can't remember their names because I'm not really good at names.
So then by the time as they got there, they were getting their sort of black belts, and you'd moved. So you moved. What was it, about 1983?
Yeah,
was that
something like that?
And where did you move to then?
I went to Nottingham.
Yeah,
and I did a bit of training there, and you just trained with anybody and anything. And then I went to Dorset.
Yeah, so you moved down to down to Dorset.
Yeah,
and so was it one of those you got down to Dorset, and do you think straight away, right, I need to find myself a karate club?
That's what you do. So I moved in I went straight to Dorset, got my job, got my house, and thinking, well, it's Tuesday, I normally do karate. What am I going to do? And you look around.
I suppose no internet.
No internet. So you did
no internet.
Shanks's pony down to the library That's where they keep books. Okay, like,
Yeah.
and have a look on the notice boards, and there weren't really that many sports clubs and stuff about, so it was village halls and there was nothing.
You had to ask the local little local lad on the street
Yeah.
corner.
Is there any judo or karate? And they go, I don't know, mister, don't know. And so I thought, well, I've got to do something. So I looked around, and the nearest sort of club was like Dorchester, and that was run by Sensei Kato.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's like 40 miles away. I'm not going to get there very often. And so I wrote to him and said, I'd done Shotokan, and it was Shotokan.
Yeah.
I'd like to join. And he said, well, open a club. So I opened a club.
All right. Okay.
Just like that.
Yeah.
And so I did it on the hospital grounds and used the village hall. And
So that, obviously opening that, obviously back then, trying to promote a club. How did you go about?
No Facebook. Well, it was sticking a postcard in the local shop.
Yeah.
Just saying
No flyers.
Nobody did anything like that. It was just library and the local shop, and I think we probably ended up with about 10 people. Some people came from work.
And so what did you say? What grade would you have been at this point? Like second Q?
Second Q, yeah. And so we did that, and I went to Dorset and places like Dorchester to train, and anywhere you could go. I did a bit of Waterloo, and you just took whatever you could do.
Get from it.
Yeah.
And I remember when I signed up with Sensei Kato, some people called him Kato or Kato.
Yeah.
And I misread the flyer. Well, it wasn't a flyer, it was a message. It was for first dans and above, and I didn't read the first dan. I read first Q, and I thought, well, I'm second Q, I can probably go. So I turned up at his house because he had a dojo on his house. And
was it quite like when you got there? Was it like a big house, or like
not really a big house? It was just an ordinary sort of semi-detached, but with a big garage.
Oh, so
but it was more like an industrial unit as it would be today, that sort of size. And I knocked on the door, and he opened the door, and he said, "Yes." So I've come to train. He said, "First hands only."
Oh.
I said, I've come all the way from Sherborne on a bus.
Please.
On a bus.
Let me in.
And I got a little bag in my gi, and he's went, oh, maybe. So I came in.
It wasn't a no.
It wanted to know, which was good. That was the wrong thing. I should have gone home. And he said, yeah, of course, come. So we went in, and there were first dans and fifth dans. They were all just training, hard stuff. And
how many people would you reckon was probably there?
20.
Yeah.
And there was a white belt and me.
Yeah.
And then 18 different big people, gorillas they looked like to me. And we trained, and again, hard training, no gloves, you just got punched. And
did it start off would it start off like training does most of a bit of key on, some kumite, bit of kata, or was it just straight?
Yeah, it was duck, dive, don't get hit. It was really an eye opener. But anyway, so we did this, and this poor old white belt, he was good. I just thought, how can you be a white belt and be so good? And what it was a guy who'd come from Japan who knew Sensei Kato.
Right.
And he was going for his black belt.
Right.
Didn't have a brown belt, he had a white belt. Yeah. Boy, oh boy, he had to fight every single person in that room before he could take his kata.
All right.
Oh, wow.
No basics, it was just fighting, then his kata, and then they went, oh yes, you've got your black belt. Break. So we had a break, and I thought, get me sandwiches. And he went, brown belt. So I went over. He said, 18 T's. So I had to go and make everybody a cup of tea and get the sandwiches, put them on plates, run out and deliver all the sandwiches to all the black belts, and keep dishing out tea with one hand with a sandwich and giving everybody else their stuff. And then we all finished plates to clear away. And then we trained again. And again, we did kata and thump each other as hard as you could type stuff. And then afterwards, I thought, oh, break time, finish. And everybody sort of shakes hands and they all went to get some tea again. It was a weekend. And I thought, oh, great. And he went, brown belt. Yes, sensei. You know how you do.
Yeah.
Yes, sensei.
Yeah.
It was. He said, clean the floor. So what do you mean? You know how you do? Oh,
so in this unit, so the floor in this unit
wooden,
is a wooden
floor.
Yeah.
And I had to clean it with a brick and some sand. I'd never cleaned a floor before, screw this and then wipe it all off and then sweep it all down. Everybody else had been to the pub and I was still cleaning the floor. And then same on the Sunday, we trained again as hard. And before I could go home, everybody else had gone. I was cleaning floors. It was, again, it was really good and I really, really enjoyed it. But, I always read.
What was Sensei Kato, was that just the only sort of couple of times you trained with him? Or
Yeah. It was. I trained with him probably 3 or 4 times because it was too far to go and travel.
But as an instructor,
as an instructor, again, technically, I thought he was really, really good. I would say not brutal as in nasty, but devastating in his power and delivery of a technique.
Yeah,
you didn't want to. You wanted to block. You didn't want. you didn't want to get hit because it was strong.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, they all are. They're all strong.
So if you could, when you were down south, then did you try any other martial arts while you were there?
Yeah,
because you said you did like Wado.
Wado. It's similar to Shotokan.
Yeah. Anything different? Yeah, really? Completely different.
Yeah, I went and did a kung fu style. It was a bit soft.
Yeah,
for me. I think it was called the 5 rings or the 5 golden rings, and they used to train with rings, these big rings on their arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like that. 5 on this one. And they used to do all these sort of like circular movements, and
you couldn't make them jingle.
You couldn't make them jingle. Yeah. So
what happened if you did?
Oh, well, you got smacked.
All right. Okay.
So me, trembling because they were fairly heavy, and you go ding a ding ding smack, and then they'll go ding a ding a ding, and you just get smacked until you stop and hold your hands and your arms specifically in a position. And then it was all like circular movements and
a bit like Tai Chi.
Chi, or it was like a Tai Chi, but and then when they got rid of these, like the dummy, the like Wing Chun, and I couldn't. I don't know. It just didn't seem.
I hear there are people that say you either get the dummy or you just don't.
Yeah,
you don't.
It was something that I couldn't. It didn't gel, when I did. Now I know it's Shotokan, but when I did that, I just thought, "Oh, this is awesome." But when I did the kung fu stuff, it just felt a bit awkward or a bit soft, or I don't know. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just not.
It wasn't for me.
Just
didn't click.
If you'd have started that from the day one, that might have been the thing for you. It's. I think sometimes you try. You do Shotokan, and like myself, you've tried you'll try other things. You just think,
it don't feel right.
Don't feel right. Yeah. But that just because you've been not indoctrinated. It's not the right word. But that you've probably done it for so long, and that's what your body's used to. And then when you're trying to do something else,
it doesn't feel right.
Doesn't feel right. Yeah.
Did it feel like the total opposite to Shotokan?
To me, it did. Yeah, it was. Although it's really interesting because when you do training with, say, Sensei Tanaka, Asaka, Naka, and those sort
their
of people.
fluid movement.
Their fluid movements and quite a lot of what I would call circular movements. And I think this is what this was about, but it was too circular and fluid.
Yeah.
But you can see where it all sort of stems from and how it could all gel together. But
Okay.
yeah, it's just not what I wanted to do then.
But no, I mean, it's just recently when we had the spring course. I mean, we had Okuma Sensei,
Yeah.
and obviously his instructor is Naka Sensei, and you can really see that fluid movement, or even like the connection to the floor over other instructors. It just looks different.
It does.
It just looks different. Not that it looks not bad in any way at all. It's just different, and you can see when that connection they've got to the floor is just.
And I think with Sensei Naka, he can move towards you without you seeing him move. He's in front of you before, and that's what one of the lessons I was trying to do, where you move with your shoulder and move in,
Yes.
so that you don't move both shoulders, so that they see you coming.
Yes.
That was really interesting. I love to see that sort of technique and the fluidity of what they can do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sensei Okuma was saying this is like for when, I think it was like when Sensei Naka started training, I think like for like the first, it's something like for the first couple of years, he only like his instructor only had him doing like Teki Shodan.
Right.
And that was it, like Teki Shodan, Teki Shodan, Teki Shodan. And he was just saying he just thinks that, just by that repetitive nature of doing it is why he's got such a good connection to the floor. So going off track slightly, but so you're down south, and then did work bring you back up this way?
It brought me to Lincolnshire.
Yeah.
And again, I moved into Hull Beach, started work, and then you think, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with me Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays? And so I started looking around for different karate stuff, and there was one in Spalding that I found. And
was that Shotokan?
Shotokan, KUGB.
Right.
And
who's the chief instructor?
Well, the chief instructor was a guy called Bruce, who was South African, but he left the week I joined.
All right.
So when I got there were 5 or 6 second cues, same as me. And so we all move in, and I went, and they all go, "Who's this second cue?" So then you have to prove yourself again that you are a second cue, and and we all sort of then ended up teaching each other as a group, and I've made some really good friends.
Is there any ones that you can remember? Like,
there was a guy called Fletcher. What was his name?
Nick Fletcher.
Nick Fletcher, John Speed, Sean Leggett, Phil Bailey. They were the main ones I can remember. And Peter Frith.
Hilton, was it?
Oh, Hilton. Well, Hilton, he then moved in a bit later. And we all sort of trained each other. Nick got his black belt first at Grantham at the barracks.
Oh, when we had Sensei Noida.
Sensei Noida, Frank Brennan was there. Wow, that was a hard day. And that's where he
warm in there as well.
Want it, yeah. And Nick got his black belt. He got his jaw broken, but he got his black belt.
Wow.
And I failed my black belt because I broke my toe doing a mawashi-geri to somebody's head and my big toe. And I didn't know I'd done it. I caught him on the side of the head, hit him, stepped back, and my big toe was
not at a 90-degree angle.
It was under my foot. Ooh. And when I put my foot down, all I could see was that starburst when
there's pain.
Yeah. And the next thing I remember is waking up in the changing rooms. I'm thinking, what am I doing in the change? You don't know what's happening.
Was I really graded?
Yeah. What am I doing
Was it
in
a
the
dream?
changing? What am I doing in the changing rooms? And Hilton was there, and he's going, Mick, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I think so. Oh, my toe. He said, you broke your toe. And I put my foot up, and my toe was at the wrong angle. And Hilton goes, I think we have to do this. Seriously, I think we have to do this. And the next thing I remember is I'm in hospital.
Oh, gosh.
Because it, I sort of passed out with the pain and had to go and have it set. Yeah, so Hilton's got a lot to answer for.
He's a great. I get bless Hilton. He's a great fan to the Facebook page and our Instagram page.
I love Hilton to bits. There is
Does he still live around?
Yeah, he lives in Spalding. He's not in the best of health, but Hilton's knowledge of karate and Shotokan, his knowledge, the history, I don't know anybody who could beat him. If I want to know anything about whatever, what year was that, I ring Hilton and Hilton will say, yeah, it was 1984 and it was Friday the 5th or whatever.
Sounds like we need to get Hilton on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, if he's listening.
Yeah. His knowledge. Yeah.
No, you do. You just come across people like that, don't you? That are just encyclopedias of.
And we all sort of did it together, and again, it was pretty hard. And then it was the time when people started to not fall out, the senior instructors, but they all decided they wanted to go their own sort of way, or it wasn't what they wanted to do. And
who did so from that time period when you'd noticed instructors starting to move away, was the ones in particular that you remember thinking, oh, they've
it was
away.
So Sensei Kawazawa sort of not drifted, that's wrong, but went his own way, and I think it was international karate, traditional karate.
United Kingdom.
Yeah, United Kingdom
Traditional Karate Federation. I got on the notes there.
And there was Sensei Steve Cattle sort of was together, but not quite together. And then he went with Sensei Kase, and Hilton, me, and some of the other group, we went first with Sensei Kawazawa, but I can't even remember why, but we ended up sort of changing and then going with Steve Cattle. And I never met him, never trained with him, but again, Steve?
Yeah, but again, so a young lad, so I'd have only gone where my dad or Phil would have taken us, but what can you say about Steve Cattle?
He for a European, he was the man, I think. I mean, I've trained with Terry O'Neill, Bob Rhodes, and Frank Brennan and blah, blah, blah. But Steve Cattle was compact. In fact, I think he was built a bit like Sensei Kase. So that's why their karate was similar. And I think that's why Steve sort of followed Sensei Kase. But he was he was tough and articulate.
What was a training session with him like?
Oh, it was to me, it was the beginning of the technical period. He used to explain why you did this, why you did that.
Not just do
it. Yeah. Which is fine. Sometimes you have to do something 100 times and you do it right once. Whereas I think Sensei Steve would make you do it 10 times. You'd get it wrong, and then he'd explain why it was wrong and where you needed to put it right, and then you could do it 10 times again, but better than it was the first time. Yeah, his knowledge and ability was.
I'm sure I remembered you telling us before that was it either if you're in competition and it was a draw, that he would make you do it like Miggy, make you do it mirrored.
Yeah, make you do it mirrored or even backwards. Yeah. I've been at gradings in Spalding when he used to come. There was Derek Langham. He used to come quite a lot to Spalding. Steve Cattle. He used to come to Spalding quite a lot. And his gradings were pretty interesting. Forwards, backwards, and different katas that they used to use for practicing. And, it was good. It was good.
So obviously so you said like obviously when you decided to go from the KUGB to Cowzo's association, was it just the way Steve Cattle was, sense of Steve Cattle was, that made you think we want to join him?
Yeah, I think when you look at different people, you just get a feeling that that's the way you want to progress.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you just have a connection with that.
And you think, that's interesting, or that I like that. So we just decided to do that. And then, unfortunately, Steve passed away. And
what sort of age was he like? Do you remember like when he passed away?
I think he was sort of like late 30s, early 40s. I think he was pretty young, really. Yeah.
So when obviously when he passed away, was there anyone really that could take over his?
There was people up towards Grimsby and that way, but again, it becomes too far to travel to keep it going, and so you then start looking at different things. And there was Hull Beach, where I was living. There was a group there which was run by Task.
Task, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. John Van Weeden.
John Van Weenen.
And there was a guy called John Gill. He ran the local.
Yeah, as I see, he said on here, is it Katsu Academy of Shotokan Karate?
Yeah. So that was local.
Again, there's two names that I'd never I'm no karate historian or anything like that, but there's two names I hadn't really heard. I mean, what did you take from training with those two?
Again, you continue to do things so that you can keep doing it. Yeah. It's either that or you take up crocheting, or so you take what's on offer and you try and develop your own.
Some of that, like, obviously where you were living, it was basically like because they were like the closest people to you, really.
Yeah, they were. So it was only a mile up the road, so it was easier to do that than go to Grimsby or further to train with anybody else. So I joined them, and that's where I met David Saint.
Yeah,
the late David Saint.
Yeah, bless him. Yeah,
and he was a first Q. I was the first Q by that time, and we ended up teaching for John.
Yeah. Did you take your Dan grade with either in that
no,
with them? No,
I think I'm probably one of the longest first Qs there is.
I don't know. I reckon I could give you some.
I
think me and Andy could give you.
Absolutely. Well, we can compare numbers if you want.
I think I was a first Q for 11 years.
Oh, no, okay.
I think mine was nearly 18.
Oh, was it? Oh,
well. 16, all right. There we go.
Oh, well.
That's settled that then, hasn't it?
I hand over the baton
there
to
we
you.
Go.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but yes, gotta be up there. Is there a special plaque we can have for the first queue?
I think some of it was sometimes you didn't want, I don't know about you, but I wasn't too fussed about being a showdown.
Okay.
Because there used to be, like, when you were fighting, there was two different groups. There was showdowns and below showdowns.
Well,
and it just felt a bit better being below showdown.
I mean, as a young child, it was one of those. I think I was sort of getting to there. It was, for me, parents separated. I moved away. Was dipping in and out of karate, like here and there, and I think I probably would have hopefully been a black belt within a couple of years, probably.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, I look back and think, you know what? I'm almost quite glad I didn't go for it then.
Yeah,
Because I just didn't
yeah.
feel ready. I think by the time by the time I'd come back fully to karate and was fully dedicated and give it the time, that was the right time.
And that's
Yeah.
what happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
You
That was
have
the
fam-
right
I
time.
had a family, and I'd been divorced a couple of times. Yeah. And and
The curse of being a karate
it's
instructor.
sort of- yeah. Because you
Hopefully
have to
not.
go, don't you? You have
Well,
to go and
yeah.
teach when you have to teach, and you
Yeah.
can't just say I'm not going. So,
No.
but yeah, so me and David used to teach, and then we decided that it wasn't quite what we wanted.
With
With
Sensei John Gill.
Yeah, nothing
Right,
about
okay.
nothing about him. It's just our development,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So we moved and went with NACMAS.
Magnus. That was again another one when you sent me some of this
It was quite
information. I'd never again one I've never heard of. Is it still
Yeah.
going?
Yeah,
Do you
still
know?
going. It was quite a big.
Yeah. All these still
Organisation.
going. Task, are they still going?
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and
yeah. Katsu's
Kat-
not, but
oh, they're not.
NACMAS
Okay.
Task is still going, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then people break off from Task and form their own.
Go
and-
elsewhere, don't they? Yeah.
So I did my showdown under NACMAS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was that? Was it pretty? Did you find it? Was it
Yeah, it
from what you trained?
yeah,
now,
yeah.
things like that?
It was okay. It was not as hard as probably.
Do you feel like, 'cause obviously it's down. This was 2001 when you guys joined NACMAS. Did you feel like by then, like the training when you first started, say in the 70s, had it already started? It
yeah.
already started.
This-
Like it's not as hard.
No, they started bringing in health and safety,
Okay.
and then like with NACMAS, and yes, there has to be child protection nowadays, but it started. All the child protection. You can't drive people in your cars to a competition, and you can't be on your own, and you shouldn't be using the same changing rooms, and which I can understand nowadays. But
definitely. Yeah.
There has to be.
Yeah.
But you can't do push-ups. You can't let ladies do certain techniques because it's not good for the abdomen, and so on and so on and so forth. And you could see it just felt a bit different.
So you guys, you joined them, and it just felt. So you joined them, and
Because it started. You needed insurance.
Right. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
which I can understand. If you need a new set of teeth and it's £500, somebody's got to pay. Whereas back in the day, nobody, you.
Just wasn't a thing, was it?
Yeah, it just did it. You
Yeah.
didn't have to wear gum shields. You didn't use mitts.
Yeah.
You certainly didn't use shin pads and foot pads and head.
And it's
gear.
in NACMAS, there was foot pads, shin pads. Was that more of more of a thing?
It was still show to can that we were doing, but there were all the styles within that.
Right.
And it started, mitts and big red mitts and big blue ones, and some with thumbs and
I
some
look
without.
back because I remember obviously people the days when gum shields were technically either non-existent or optional.
Yeah.
And definitely remember no mitts. And I think like the mitts like what we use now, where it's just obviously like a light padding over the knuckles. I think it's a good thing, but I think when you start putting like the really big mitts on, it gives you a bit of a false sense of security because they think they can go in
A bit harder.
Oh,
yeah.
And distance is different.
Yeah.
If you've got
it is,
like 3 inches of pad, that's not quite the same as
No, because you're going to try and make the distance the way you feel it.
That's right.
But
Yeah. And then so me and David took our showdown. Hilton took his showdown, and we decided that we would open our own school.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're in dojo.
Yeah.
Who? Sorry, just go back.
Yeah.
Who took you for the showdown? Who was the grading examiner?
Sensei John Gill.
Sensei John did it.
Yeah,
okay.
he did it.
Yeah.
Even though it was Katsu, he was also within
right. Okay.
NACMAS as well.
Right.
He'd got his own
Yeah.
association.
Okay.
So yeah, we did that, and we looked around for a place to do it, and we used the school at Long Sutton,
Yeah.
and it was probably the first time we'd ever done any marketing,
Yeah.
and we did some flyers. I think we did 1,000 flyers for something stupid like a tenner or whatever it was, and we sent them out to schools, put them in libraries, the fish and chip shop, the paper shop. I can't remember. Anywhere that would, you know, the
Got out there and pounded the pavement.
the laundrette. We just put piles, and we said, right, we're going to open it on September, whatever it was. And we turned up. Me and David, we couldn't get in the car park of the school, and we thought, oh, there must be a school due on. So we parked on the road and we walked in, and this is serious, we had 250 students turn up on the first night. And we'd only got the small gymnasium.
Oh, God.
And so we had
Was
to
that in
then...
the car park, was it?
Oh, no. So what we did was we went and used the big hall, the assembly hall, and we divided the class into two, and I could not imagine that amount of people.
Got to be the best turnout.
Because there was
It's
nothing.
gotta be like the best
There was
turnout.
nothing in Long Sutton for any of the kids to do, or the local kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had 200 dwindle into 100 over about 9 months.
But
And-
still,
And we still used to have two halls, and we used to train twice a week. And then, you know, things happen, and then life changes, and then they start doing roller discos, and, you know, and it all drops off. And then there was a horse riding thing. And,
I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like when you know, as an instructor, try not to take it personal when numbers do drop off.
Yeah.
And you do, you know, I always say, you know, there's an open door policy of like, if people want to come back anytime, then try it. Like, you know. But it's a strange thing, you know, like, because you'll get people, you're really enthusiastic, and you think, why did they drop off?
Yeah.
They seem like they were really enjoying it.
And it's, well, you know that I've actually closed 3 schools, basically through COVID, and
it did for a lot of people.
Yeah.
and we did really well on Zoom. We had 20, 25 people, used to do it twice a week on Zoom. We're
Trying to get back into the dojo.
And
where we had people chomping at the bit to get back in the dojo, but where, you know, just
we
your members
didn't.
wanted to be online.
And we had problems with when they opened up again, the sports complex, they'd got different staff. So the staff who knew me didn't ring me. The staff who didn't know me didn't ring me to say, oh, we've opened up again. And when I found they'd opened and went, they'd given our Tuesdays and Thursdays away.
Oh. That was nice of them.
Well, you know, and that was that was what really did it. And then, so people were set on Tuesdays and Thursdays because of their work and whatever. And eventually we got down to about 4. And
It's the thing. I mean, it's things there as well. It's like, you know, I probably drive you and Sensei Wayne mad. I'm sure Andy does as well, because we do a lot of the social media stuff. Like for Newark, and I'm like that. I feel like social media can be a bit of a curse at times, but it is the way.
It is. I mean, I think the way that the social media for Newark works is brilliant. I can't do it. It's you know, I'm too old. I can barely switch a computer on or get my phone to work. But the way you all do it, and the way the artwork, and you know how it all fuses together, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
But again, it's that you've got to have people. Yes, you can do it. Like for a time, I was probably doing it all. And then you just. Here's the thing. It's relentless. You've got to keep on it, and then you're blessed that you've got people in the club that want to help you out, and you can trust to to do that stuff for you as well.
I mean, I'm pleased that I'm now part of Newark.
Yeah, and
we are as well, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you. That's where I started from, and that's how I came back, was through Sensi Wayne. We were on the circuit doing.
Was it like the open competition?
I think it was the East Mid or Eastern. What was it? European. Anyway, I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, we were on the circuit and we met up at Peter Payne at Boston. And I saw this.
I remember going to a couple with like those ones in
EMA.
Boston.
It was EMA.
EMA. That right.
Was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The European Martial Arts, I think it was. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
And so we went to all these open competitions, and this guy walked through, and I thought, that looks like Wayne. Well, he can't be, because he looks about 30. And I went over and I said, "Is it Wayne?" And Wayne said, "It's Mick, isn't it?" And we just got chatting, and we were with NACMAS then, and he was with JKA, or they just.
It might, around about then might have either been just in the process of leaving from KGB to JK England,
And so he said, "Oh, you ought to come and train with Sensei Hota at Newark."
It definitely would have probably been.
Yeah. And so we decided that me and David would come, and my wife came, and I think we brought half a dozen students. And we trained with Sensei Hota, and we just went, this is what we need to do. And we went to.
And what was it about that session? What can you remember? Like what Sensei was teaching that day, or
it was Kion, Kata, and Kumite paired work. It just, well, not simple, but just simple. And we both went home that night and said,
the technical detail.
Yeah. This is where we have got to go. And then we went to Blackpool, because he was having a course. And we got up there, my car broke down. We got up there about midnight, and we went and knocked on the door, and there was Sensei Hota and Sensei Cyril Cummins, in a caravan, and whoever was doing the paperwork threw them out the caravan and gave me and David the caravan. So he got thrown out of his caravan. Anyway, so we thoroughly enjoyed it. And we arranged to come and meet Sensei Hota and Wayne in the pub. And we brought our syllabus that we were using in NACMAS. And I remember Sensei Hota saying, "I couldn't even do this."
All right.
Oh, wow.
Too complicated. Anyway, so we decided that's what we're going to do. And we didn't look back. Yeah, we didn't look back.
So, I mean, I'll bring that up again shortly, but I just wanted to touch on. I remember, so you and David saying you guys had again. I don't think I ever visited it, but I remember coming to some of the gradings, and you had your belts because it had Fighting Spirit.
Fighting Spirit.
Your shop. You guys had a shop together.
Yeah, we had a shop in Spalding called Fighting Spirit, and we had our own private dojo in the back.
I remember Sean Castor has obviously told me these stories, and Sensei Wayne said that him and Sensei Wayne used to come over and do classes with.
And we used to me and David, we used to video Wayne, and when he was in the squad, and
just going over
just correcting little bits, and we used to me Wayne, David, Hilton, some of the others. We used to drive up to Cockfosters on the M25, then get a train down to Kensington, and then train with Sensei Hota and.
Down in London.
So we used to do that on a regular basis. Or we used to fly out to Coddington to pick Sensei Wayne up from work, and then fly down to London and train. Back in the day when we were a bit younger and we were at it, it was good.
And what did you sell at the what sort of bits did you sell at the shop?
You name it, everything.
Anything to do with martial arts?
Anything, yeah. We used to sell karate, judo, kickboxing, kung fu. You name it, we sold it. Everything from punch bags to gum shields to nunchucks, throwing stars.
Did it ever get to the point where you was doing stuff, I guess, online, or was that still wasn't?
Yeah. We started doing stuff online, doing really well, And then eBay came along.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That wiped us out.
Yeah.
So we used to sell a gi for £6.50.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the eBay because we used to get our stuff from Pakistan,
Yeah.
made specifically for us with our logo on.
Yeah.
And we were importing it and selling it at $6.50.
Yeah.
And the Pakistanis were selling it on eBay for £3.75.
All right. So
Okay.
It doesn't take you too long
No.
before you realise that
you can't.
you can't sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was across the board, punch bags, everything.
Yeah.
So we closed the shop in the end because
Yeah.
wasn't making money.
yeah,
Just the way it was.
Yeah.
It was good.
How long did you have the shop for? Would you say?
10 years, I would think.
Wow.
Yeah, we did okay. It was good.
But so yeah, once you joined, obviously JK, you didn't look back, and
Onwards and upwards.
onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
Here we are. Yeah.
And I just like JKA. It's just, for me,
Again, what is it about? What is it? What is it that just about? Again,
I like the technical aspects of karate. When we were young and we used to fight, it was all about fighting. But now I've got older, it's all about technique and trying to make or help other people develop their technique. And when you look at Sensei Hota, Sensei Tanaka, Osaka, Naka, you name it, all the people that there are now, there's technical ability I just think is brilliant. And that's where I want to keep going.
yeah. Well, and that's, I think, like you said, it's like I can sort of relate to that. I mean, I know you've like obviously done like the open circuit and things like that as well with competitions and and I think you get to. If someone had said to me, like, come on, let's have a look at this kata and the technical side of it, like, a few years back, you'd be like, no chance.
Well, talking about technical stuff on the circuit with Wayne, blowing my own trumpet, I got 5 gold medals in the veterans for kata, and I got grand champion of Great Britain veterans, and I did either MP or Goji Shio show.
Right.
And I did Goji Shio show for my third dan. Bearing in mind, I'd got 5 gold medals and grand champion, and I failed on kata.
What did Sensei say to you?
It was Sensei Ochi.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
from Germany.
Yeah. And Sensei Ochi sort of said, "You're old man. You have to do different kata."
Fair enough.
And I thought, oh, okay. What kata am I going to do? And he said, ladies kata, chinte.
All right.
And I looked at him and I thought,
Yeah, cheers for that.
okay, that's what I got to do. So I did chinte and passed.
Yeah. As in, what you get? Did you have to go back?
Oh, okay.
So you
Yeah.
he didn't say.
No,
for that.
go and do the ladies kata. No, I had to go and train and
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had to go and do kata only. But
So obviously, like going from like you'd passed your showdown in Nakamas, obviously joining JK England. Did you have to like reaffirm?
well, you could reaffirm and take your second dan. So
Yeah.
I took my second dan and reaffirmed my first dan at the same time.
That must have been a sigh of relief then.
It was,
all right.
yeah. It was good, a nice feeling, and it's really nice to have that piece of paper that says, Shodan, Nidan, JKA on the rice paper.
Yeah.
So again, seeing so you'd passed your Sandan in up to about 2008.
Yeah.
And then did you go, was it by yourself to Japan in 2013, or did I know the association, and I've seen other associations, sometimes they'll put together like a trip.
Yeah,
it
wasn't really a trip, as in it was put together, but Sensei Hota was going, Sensei Giuseppe, Sensei Glyn Morgan, Martin Dobson, quite a few others, myself, and we all decided we were going to go, and we all went.
Right.
Okay.
And
Living the dream.
oh,
How was it?
probably, apart from getting married and having kids, it's probably the best thing that I've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Did you just when you went? Did you just train at the Hombu dojo?
Yeah,
That was that. You didn't know of a.
No, we didn't do
dojos?
any other training anywhere else. It was a course that the Gashaku course. It was brilliant. We got there. We arrived about 5 o'clock at night. Got to the hotel, and then there was a phone call saying we expect you to be in the dojo by 6.
Right.
We'd just flown, and we went.
Quick black coffee and
Quick trip to the loo. Get our gis on. Off down we go. And
was the hotel far from the dojo?
It's about 15 minutes.
Oh, not too bad.
Sort of jog.
Nice.
Anyway, we got there, and we did an hour's kata.
Oh yeah.
Gion.
Yeah.
And we all went, "Phew, that was hard." Just that was all we did.
Who was teaching that class?
Imora.
Yeah.
And we did that, and then we all sort of thought, "Oh, pub." And we're all sort of walking towards the entrance, and they said, "Where are you going?" So we're going to the hotel. And they said, "No, it's an hour's kumite now."
Oh, wow.
So we did an hour's kumite, and it was Hirayama, the lady.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
Do
Hirayama.
not
Brilliant.
upset her.
No.
Oh, she is
I generally like to think I've always stayed on a good side when I've seen her.
Powerful. Yeah, it was. She told me off.
Yeah.
Because I'd got my school badge on,
Right.
Shotokan token, which is fighting spirit.
Yeah.
And I walked in. Just been to the loo. Walked in, and she pointed to the badge. I didn't quite understand what she meant, and she just went and ripped my badge off.
Straight up.
Straight off. It was sewn on.
Oh,
she
right.
just power, and then sort of nearly got hold of me and lugged me downstairs. So I had to have a proper JKA badge on. You can't go in with school badge on.
Right.
Nobody told me that.
No.
Okay.
I think it cost me £20. It was something hundreds and hundreds of yen. It was good.
Yeah. Someone, I can't remember who it was. Someone was telling me just recently. He said all the mistakes that you'll make when you first go.
Yeah.
Like etiquette. Everything.
Don't put your feet out. Don't lean on the wall. It was good. It was brilliant. If you get chance, go.
Oh, one day. I definitely would love to go one day.
Yeah, same.
And you took your fourth. You hadn't intended.
I didn't.
No.
And Sensei Hota said I could take my fourth, and I took my fourth, and passed. Yeah, which was brilliant.
That must have been great.
It was
especially at the Hombu.
It was, because I ended up with 2 broken ribs and a broken toe.
Again.
Oh wow!
Not a big toe.
It was a big toe.
Was it the same toe?
Same toe. Yeah, same toe. Right. Not as bad, but it was broken. It was the 2 ribs that was a bit of a problem, because coming back on the aircraft.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, it was all okay. And then we got back, and then there was a course at Crawley where they go, Sensei Mick Lowe, pass 4th dan. And I didn't train because I'd got the broken ribs for the course, but I went and sat at the back and watched. Yeah. And he said, Sensei Hota said, you can't get your 4th dan if you don't do the kata. So I had to go and buy a training, suit, a cheap suit.
Yeah.
And somebody lent me a black belt.
Yeah.
And I walked out, and he goes, Sensei Mick Lowe, kata chinte. He has broken ribs, so he won't be very good. So I did chinte, and it really was poor. But anyway, I got the certificate. But yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that, putting you on the spot.
It was funny.
So by the time you got your fourth, then is that when had you already started going down the route of doing your referees and examiners qualifications?
Because we did like the JKA England types of refereeing and instructors, and then we all went and started doing the D and C. So I took all my C's eventually.
Yeah.
What made you go down that route?
I think it's getting old. Basically, you can fight, but you're never going to keep up with the young guys. For speed, you've got a bit more idea of what's happening. But so the teaching and then the refereeing and understanding what's going off and. Again, technical. It's the technical bit. You can see what they're supposed to be doing.
Again, like with it's passing. If it's the instructor side and things like that, it's passing your knowledge.
Yeah, and which is what I enjoy doing. Yeah. I enjoy doing it all, but I enjoy teaching, and that's the bit that I really enjoy. And the gradings are good. I enjoy looking at people. Like when I've done a couple of gradings at Newark, watching the people. Including yourself, going from brown to black and watching it.
I don't know who's more nervous when you was going for your black belt, Andy. Was it me or Sensei Mick?
Look, I can't say how nervous I was.
But it's brilliant watching people come through and that is nice, and you can see them develop. That's good.
Yeah. Well, I know we're very thankful to have you in the club and passing your knowledge on to us and helping us out.
I thoroughly enjoy
keep leading the way there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I see you're in your full Mason's gear as well tonight. So I know you're very an active Mason. How's that going?
It's going very well. This one is the motorcycle Widow Sons Lodge. So, I've got a motorbike, so karate, motorbikes, Masons. Keeps me busy.
I was going to say, definitely. Ever together, the gi and the motorbike?
I have been to Newark on my motorbike with my gi under my leathers before.
Yeah. That must have been warm.
It was warm. And then trying to get your leathers back on after you've done a couple of hours training is not easy. You need a lot of talcum powder.
So, where do you see, where would you like to see your karate journey sort of going now? Do you feel like you've got another grading still to go? Or?
Well, I was thinking of doing my 5th last month.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I've not been well.
Yeah.
So that had to go
Has to take a back seat.
Did. So I haven't done any training for 6 weeks now.
I bet you're starting to go
driving me mad.
And I'm sure Mrs. Lowe to boot as well.
Yeah. So, and I can't drive, which is even worse. So
you'll get there.
I will. I'm hoping to come back and start walking around and pretending I can do something in June.
I think even
watch
that,
this space.
Even that is like invaluable that you can help keep people on the right path.
Just have that presence as well.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Well, we usually always end with Andy's quick fire question. So
try
to just whatever the first answer is. I'd say go with that. If you feel like you need to. Add a bit to it, I guess. Add a bit to this, but if you can, try and keep it sort of nice and short. Whatever comes to mind first.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I will be honest.
Yeah.
Normally we do 10, but I have snuck a couple of
right.
extra ones in there for you.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. So the first question is: favorite technique to use in kumite?
Shiro Mawash.
Oh,
wow. That's what got me my 4th dan.
All right.
Was it? Oh, okay.
Good man.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Favorite kata to perform?
Ooh. I would have said Go Jishiho Show,
Yeah.
but as that's for young men now, I quite like Chinte.
Okay. Favorite kata for bunkai, because you are more as your bunkai expert. Yeah.
Probably Gion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best competitor you've ever faced. And this is kata or kumite, whoever.
Sensei Phil Rakes. Yeah. I wish we used to fight a lot when we were training, and I always wished I could have been as good as he was. Yeah, Phil.
Excellent. Okay. So best male competitor. This isn't someone who you've necessarily fought.
All right.
Just in your opinion.
Yeah, just in your opinion.
I suppose,
Like,
again,
it could be anyone.
looking at,
Past,
again, at some
present.
of the different
Yeah.
associations, where there could be people there that we've not heard of, you know?
Yeah.
I quite like watching Sensei Naka in his fights.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Best female competitor.
Well, I would have to say, not famous. I shouldn't say that, but actually, I like watching my wife do her competitions when she did competitions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mrs. Lowe, big honours there.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. So, which 5 people would you pick for a kumite team?
Okay.
I suppose it could be a mixed team.
Could be
female.
yourself. You throw yourself in there as well
Okay.
if you want.
So if I wanted a really good team,
Yeah.
I wouldn't pick myself. All right, but the team that I would like to see, would be Chris Mansfield,
Yep.
Phil,
Yeah.
Sean, and then I'd probably pick 2 of the older guys from the past, like Ronnie Christopher,
Oh, wow.
and Steve Cattle. That would be like a dream team to me.
Love it.
Let's see. Yeah.
There we go.
That would be
Brilliant team.
That would be awesome. That would.
Which 3 people would you pick for a team kata?
Team Kata.
Yeah. It's another one I threw in because I know you like your kata.
Is this out of everyone?
Out of anybody past,
Okay.
present.
If a team
whoever you want.
Kata, I'd
Yeah.
like to see Sensei Wayne,
Yep.
Sensei Ken Hori,
Okay.
and not sure about the third.
Ooh.
Okay. Probably Alfie Cunnington.
Alfie
Cunningham.
Yeah.
Alfie Cunningham.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah. Okay.
If I was going to put the dream one together,
Yeah.
I think that would look pretty awesome.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
Love it.
Your greatest karate achievement?
It could be my 4th dan in Japan.
Fair enough. Okay. The instructor that has had a lasting effect on you?
Well, there would be 2.
Yeah.
And the first one would be Sensei Alan Bainbridge,
Mm-hmm.
just because that's where it started.
Yeah.
And that's what gave me the enthusiasm to do it.
Yeah.
And the other one would be Sensei Hota, because he's the one. Yeah, I'd have to put another one there, Steve Cattle. But they're the, from the beginning and from like now would be Alan Bainbridge and Sensei Hota.
Yeah.
Okay. The student that you taught that had the most potential? Oh.
We were talking before.
It'd be, to be honest, would be Adam Moulding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was. I mean, I I was fortunate to be on the squad like with Adam, and he had a lot of massive potential.
Massive potential. Yeah.
Come on, Adam, get the gi back on.
Yeah.
Come on, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Favorite karate moment?
Well, my favourite, which was reminded by Sensei Alan Bainbridge, was we went to an open competition in Birmingham, and I was a white belt we used to have 2 black tags.
Okay. Yeah.
And I got up against, I don't know who it was, but a black belt who was supposedly going to go through the grades and end up being on the winning side. And Sensei Alan said to me, "You got to do something special." And all I could think of, this is serious, was I clapped. They went, "Hajime." I clapped, the black belt looked, and I did a Mai Geri and got Ippon. And put him out. Put him out of the competition. Sensei Alan Bainbridge is going mental. Yes. And I thought, well, what have I done? And it was, I don't know who it was, but it's this guy who was supposedly going to go high and get medals. Didn't end up going. I got knocked out in the next round, but that was that was sticks in my mind. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well,
that is all the questions.
That's it. Oh, well, that was easy.
That's it, yeah.
Thank you ever so much for coming in and having a chat with us.
That was good. I enjoyed
that. And keep leading the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Us.